Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are stepping into a massive investigation surrounding history's most enigmatic document. If you love a genuine, completely unresolved cold case, well, you're in the exact right place. We're looking at a medieval text that has quite literally baffled the most brilliant minds for over a century, the Voynich Manuscript. And I want to reveal the ultimate twist right away. Despite over 100 years of intense, agonizing scrutiny by the absolute brightest minds on the planet, no one actually knows what a single word of this book means. Seriously, not one word. The current scholarly consensus is that the manuscript remains entirely undeciphered. Any headline you see claiming otherwise is simply jumping the gun. So, how can an entire book sit right in front of us, beautifully preserved, and completely refuse to be read? To figure that out, we've got to look at how this strange artifact burst into the modern world. Back in 1912, a Polish book dealer named Wilfred Voynich acquired it from a Jesuit college near Rome. Voynich opened it, saw its elegant but completely alien script and these wildly bizarre illustrations, and immediately knew he had stumbled onto something unprecedented. I mean, it wasn't Latin, it wasn't any known language, it was an alphabet that absolutely no scholar could identify. Okay, let's move on to Section 1, Unlocking the Physical Clues. While the text itself is a total mystery, the physical object has actually given up some of its secrets. See, for decades, people debated whether the whole thing was just a clever modern forgery. But that debate largely settled in 2009. Radiocarbon dating performed on the parchment firmly established that the book is a genuine artifact produced during the early 15th century, specifically between 1404 and 1438. The inks and pigments also perfectly match the materials available during that exact period. So we know for a fact this is not some 19th century hoax. It's an authentic voice from the late Middle Ages. Now, the physical construction of the text itself presents a really fascinating juxtaposition. The book, which is over 200 pages long, is written on high-quality vellum, which is animal skin. That means significant resources were spent to make it. But here is the most fascinating detail of all. The principal scribes wrote this text fluidly, naturally, and confidently without any obvious corrections. They weren't just haltingly copying random symbols. The way the pen moves heavily implies they completely understood this unknown language right as they were writing it. We can also trace the book's documented chain of custody. It wasn't just invented out of thin air in 1912. Evidence shows it circulated among educated European collectors for centuries. In the 17th century, it was owned by an alchemist named George Boratius, who tried and failed to understand it. It then passed to scientist Johannes Marcus Marci, who shipped it off to Athanasius Kircher in Rome. Now, Kircher was a famous Jesuit scholar known for his work on Egyptian hieroglyphs, and Marci hoped Kircher could finally crack the code. Well, he couldn't. It just sat in Jesuit collections until Voynich rediscovered it. This centuries-long chain of custody proves the manuscript has been regarded as a deeply confusing puzzle for hundreds of years. Let's dive into Section 2, A Tour of the Bizarre. So what were all these scholars actually looking at? Let's take a visual tour of the evidence, which researchers generally divide into 4 thematic sections based on the illustrations. We can rapidly step through these 4 completely baffling sections. First up, the botanical section, which happens to be the largest. It features large plants, but here's the catch. Many seem to be imaginary creations, just mashing together features of multiple species. Second, we have the astronomical section, filled with circular diagrams of stars, suns, moons, and recognizable zodiac symbols like Aries and Leo. Third, the biological or balneological section, which we'll look at it a bit closer in a second. And fourth, a pharmaceutical section. This one shows what looks like medieval medicinal jars, roots, and dense paragraphs of text separated by star-shaped fillet points that look exactly like recipes or instructions. Every single section hints at hidden knowledge, from medicine to astrology, yet absolutely none of it can be confidently read. Take that biological section, for instance. It contains numerous intricate illustrations of nude women standing or bathing within these interconnected pools, tubes, and vessels filled with green and blue liquid. I mean, it literally looks like an elaborate plumbing system or flowing rivers linking chambers together. So what does it mean? Are these medicinal baths? Do they symbolize the human body and reproductive health? Or maybe they're allegorical representations of alchemy. Without the accompanying text, the true meaning of these wild illustrations remains completely, utterly uncertain. Moving right along to Section 3, Cryptographers, AI, and Failure. Knowing what it looks like, what happens when modern minds try to force this book to give up its secrets? The short answer, they all failed. The Voynich Manuscript has defeated and humbled some of the world's most accomplished codebreakers. During World War I and II, professional military cryptographers, people who successfully broke incredibly complex wartime communications, tried their hand at this medieval book, only to walk away with bruised egos. Experts from intelligence agencies and universities threw classical cryptography, frequency analysis, and pattern recognition at it. Nothing worked. Even recently, we've applied high-resolution multispectral imaging, machine learning, and AI. Algorithms have compared it to hundreds of known languages, yet no computational approach has produced a universally accepted solution. Because of this stubborn resistance, researchers have proposed 5 leading suspects, basically major theories for what this mysterious script actually represents. Theory 1, it's an unknown natural language whose other texts simply went extinct. 2, it's a sophisticated medieval cipher designed to hide sensitive alchemical or medical info. 3, it's a completely invented, constructed language with its own unique grammar. 4, it's an elaborate mnemonic device using symbols to trigger memory rather than spelling out exact words. Or 5, it's just meaningless gibberish. Now, there's an intense debate between that last theory, meaningless gibberish, and the actual data. The fraud theory suggests an author deliberately invented a convincing-looking fake to scam wealthy buyers looking for occult secrets. However, modern linguists point out a massive flaw in that idea. Statistical analysis shows that the word frequencies, repetition patterns, and positional regularities in the Voynich manuscript closely mirror the complex structures of authentic human languages. Producing that level of internal statistical consistency intentionally just to pull off a scam in the 1400s, it would have required an almost impossible level of planning and linguistic understanding.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that while it looks and acts like a real language, it still hasn't been read. And you might be wondering, wait, haven't I seen articles claiming someone finally cracked it? Yeah, you probably have. Various individuals periodically announce they've decoded it, and it always makes widespread media headlines. But these are false decodings. When academic experts evaluate these claims, they always find fatal methodological flaws. The proposed translations usually rely on arbitrary symbol assignments, basically making a letter mean whatever they want it to mean in that exact moment, or they suffer from massive grammatical inconsistencies. If different researchers can produce completely different translations from the exact same passage, well, the decipherment method just isn't reliable.
Let's look at Section 4, the limits of human knowledge. Finally, what does this stubborn, unsolved mystery actually teach us about history itself? The Voynich manuscript vividly demonstrates the absolute limits of current human knowledge. Despite all our incredible advances in linguistics, AI, and digital archaeology, some historical questions just remain locked away because the essential contextual information has simply disappeared over time. Languages go extinct, cultural traditions vanish, supporting documents burn or decay. This manuscript is a humbling reminder that our view of history is inherently incomplete. Sometimes, a remarkable, beautiful discovery survives the centuries, but the keys needed to interpret it are just lost forever. Which brings us right back to the title of our explainer. The Voynich Manuscript Decoded is, as of today, an aspiration, not an established fact. True decipherment remains a highly hopeful goal for future interdisciplinary scholarship. Who knows, every improvement in computational linguistics or future AI might just provide that breakthrough. But scholars emphasize that a genuine solution is going to require rigorous, verifiable evidence that can coherently translate the entire document, not just selective guesswork. Until that verifiable evidence emerges, this book remains an undefeated champion of historical mystery. But far from diminishing its importance, this uncertainty is exactly what elevates the manuscript into one of humanity's greatest intellectual puzzles. It challenges all our assumptions about communication and the absolute fragility of knowledge. What if it's a forgotten medical encyclopedia, an encrypted scientific treatise, or something else entirely unexpected? What extraordinary human explanation, what forgotten secrets are still waiting patiently to be uncovered in those silent words? It's a question that invites every single generation to keep looking, to keep trying, and to keep learning. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your curiosity alive.